In a long time ago in France lived a very beautiful girl named Victorine Lavorcade and was from a rich and noble family, and Victorine lived in a large palace and luxury, and were always holding parties in this palace and call on these concert stars of French society, and in one of the parties met Victorine handsome young Julien Busseau. Julien was brilliant in talking and very loved but poor. Julien loved the rich Victorian girl and offered her a sermon, but she was rejected and preferred by a wealthy young man from an ancient family named Renal. I married Victorine from the wealthy young man Renal. After the marriage I discovered that he was rude, very heartless, very cruel, and that he was bad to deal with, so Victorine did not tolerate all this and was seriously ill. She remained in her bed until death signs appeared. They buried her in the cemetery near the palace where she was born. Julien knew of her death, and went to her grave and wished to retain some of its impact, so he told Bala to come to the cemetery after midnight and to open the coffin and take a tangle of her hair, and Julien did so, and when he approached the head of Victorine shaking and trembling and then opened her eyes, Julien was dumbfounded, but he took his strength and carried it in his arms and went to his house and rushed. Julien returned to the cemetery quickly and closed the coffin so that no one knew that Victorine was still alive. Victorine stayed at Julien's house for several weeks until her health was restored. Then Victor and Julien agreed to travel to America to start new life. 20 years later, they returned to Paris after a longing and a short vacation. At one of the parties, Victorine and Julien were invited. Victorine looked up when she saw Renal standing and looked at her and said, "You look very much like a lady I know." She remembered that he had thrown her once with a piece of iron that hit her left hand and left traces. Renal knew of the wound in her hand and told her that she was Victorine, so Victorine had only to admit everything. So, she could marry Julien, have a big wedding and complete their lives with full happiness and return to America. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to subscribe in the channel. Also share video with friends and press the like button.